Good evening, dear friends. Today, fate has brought us together here so that we, in front of our YouTube screens, can finally get acquainted with the latest achievement of our domestic scientists, who have finally managed to pin old age to the mat. Friends, at last it has been defeated and it is begging for mercy because our domestic scientists have finally figured out what to do to stay vigorous, young, healthy, cheerful, joyful, and energetic. Enterprising, beautiful, cheerful. I think I already said that. Never mind, that's all. The thing is, it turns out that as we age, not only do our organs and systems start to function worse. That's all clear. Nobody starts getting better with age. Suddenly, the lungs don't start working better. Or the heart, it doesn't just suddenly become more athletic for someone out of nowhere. Or, for example, the brain doesn't suddenly start thinking better. But it rarely happens to anyone without training, of course. Because gradually blood supply worsens, the so-called wear and tear of the whole body happens, and various chronic diseases develop. They gradually develop in us, but is there a way to get rid of this, to prevent it? Yes, friends, you all know that our body has muscles. Muscle tissue is not only in those muscles that we use to move our arms and legs. This is striated muscle. There is also smooth muscle which is found, for example, in our intestines and inside blood vessels. The tone of blood vessels is also maintained, among other things, by muscles. In other words, muscle tissue is everywhere in our body. The heart is also a muscle. It turns out, what did you think? Cartilage. No, muscle pumps blood. Muscles are everywhere that the tone of something can change, where the diameter can change. And friends, the thing is, as we age, there are changes in muscle mass. What do you think they are? Do you think your muscle mass increases as you age? No, you're not right. The thing is, after the age of 30 years old, that's it. That's the age. 30 years. You celebrated, had fun, blew out 30 candles on the cake, and right at that moment, as soon as you turn 30, your muscle tissue starts to atrophy. It starts to decrease by 1% every year. 1% of your muscle mass begins to decline, begins to shrink, but it's nothing to worry about. You might say, but don't rush to despair or to celebrate. The thing is, after 50 years old, at 50, you also had fun, danced with the muscle mass you had left. Because from 30 to 50 years old, you've already lost about 20% of your muscle mass. 20% is gone. That's new, sort of. And you didn't really get upset, right? Because you don't really use those muscles. So to get to the kitchen, then to the bathroom, then to the car, and that's about it. But 20% is noticeable, but not the worst thing that could happen. But after 50 years, you start losing not just 1%, but already from 2 to 4% of muscle mass per year. And by the age of 65 years already, if you don't do anything, 65 years as well, you celebrated your anniversary somewhere in the cafeteria or, let's say, in a restaurant, surrounded by friends, grandchildren, children, and friends. And during this time, your muscle mass starts to atrophy even more by however many percent. You don't even want to look anymore. But what can you do? And so what? Muscle mass. Someone might say, I'm not some kind of athlete. Why do I need those abs? My muscles. Muscles are for idiots. That's me. They use their brains. I think so. This is my main weapon, intelligence. Some respected person will tell us, for example, Yevgeny Polikarpovich, that, so what? This muscle mass. My main weapon is a sharp mind, and I'm not interested in your muscle mass percentages. Muscles are for those who dig the earth. It's important for them, but I don't need it. I sit down, they bring me in, I solve problems, and they take me away, and my main weapon is my brain. So let's answer him, Yevgeny Polikarpovich, with nothing. The fact is that not only your striated muscles are made of muscle, but your whole body is. Both the cardiovascular system and the respiratory organs suffer because your rib cage, and thus your whole body must work to breathe and move. So, do you really think you're going to lose weight? Let's say you've lost about 15 kilograms of muscle mass compared to when you were 20 years old. Do you really think you're going to lose 20 kilograms? No, it's minus 20 kilograms of muscle mass, but plus 40 kilograms of fat mass. So, your muscles decrease, but since there's no such thing as an empty space, instead of muscles, these 20% plus, let's say 30% of fat tissue here is the fat. It won't go anywhere. So, friends, but where does it all begin? So, are there muscles that will start to atrophy first, and it will trigger the so-called cascade reaction, which can be stopped like a snowball? The other muscles will follow and will get weaker. If there are such muscles, the ones where it all starts, if you ask in the comments, I see questions now. Yes, such muscles do exist. Let me tell you. Rest assured, those muscles exist. And if right now, at this very moment, we start training them, what will we achieve with this training? We will stop the process of their atrophy, and then after we stop it, we will start the process of their hypertrophy. That's our plan, right? So the top 3 leaders. Which muscles does the weakness begin with? Your summits in this case. Let's say this room, and it's on the 30th. The audience is prepared. I want to know who I have to deal with. Let's see if our opinions match, but you have to write now before I say anything myself. Let's see who turns out to be right. Don't wait for me to say it. Go ahead right now. I'm giving you time right now. Take it now. The keyboard. Connect it, and please here, tap, tap, tap. 3, well, 4, 5, up to 5 muscles. Please write down which muscles you think your weakness will start with. Or maybe it won't start, or maybe it has already started, or maybe it's already over, which muscles. So, continuation. In terms of importance, probably yes. Or let's go by frequency. To be continued. Well, let's name a few muscles in general. Well, let's do it. They all weaken at the same time. Usually all of them get weaker, so the first muscle, the iliopsoas muscle. The iliopsoas muscle. What makes it unique, and why is it needed in terms of biomechanics, movement, and life activity? Here is the iliopsoas muscle. It's located inside our body. It's quite large, about this thick, like this, right here. This is where it is. It stabilizes the lumbar spine. It works when you walk, when you move your leg like this, when you lift your leg, and when you bend over. It is involved in almost all movements. When the legs move, when we bend over, in all movements of the spine, to one side or the other, it participates everywhere. What's special about it? Because our lifestyle has become such that we are sitting all the time. The iliopsoas muscle stays in a shortened state. It gets poor blood supply. Various venous congestions occur there, and it doesn't stretch well, which leads to injuries and fibrosis forming there. What's the peculiarity? Blood vessels and nerve bundles that go to the leg pass right through it, directly within its thickness. And when it shortens or doesn't function properly, the legs become weak. And what do the Chinese tell us, our friends from the East? In their Chinese medicine, the ancient ones wrote about it. Even back then, they had an idea. They tell us that old age doesn't start from the head, not from the neck, not from the hands, not from the shoulders, not from the thoracic spine, not from the chest, not from the abdomen, not from the lower back, not from the pelvis. From what? They already told us back then, old age starts with the legs. We didn't listen to them, and now we regret it. So, friends, what else is unique about the iliopsoas muscle? It forms the bed for the kidneys, and the kidney is located on it in a fat capsule. If the muscle atrophies, the kidney will become unstable and its function will be impaired. That's why the iliopsoas muscle needs to be well developed. Its function will be impaired, and not only the spine, but also the urinary system, which is also connected to the reproductive system, will be affected. Especially the male reproductive system. Prostatitis, all of that. If you're interested in this topic, I have a couple of tips. There are previous videos too, check them out as well. First place goes to the iliopsoas muscle. Its contribution is invaluable, and it's hard not to notice when it's not working. It will be really bad. The second muscle, gluteus maximus muscle, gluteus maximus. The muscle, it atrophies because of our lifestyle. Again, you don't even have to draw it a second time. What are you sitting on? You're sitting on your buttock, and behind, right here, on the thigh extensor. Plus, the thigh extensor, this is the thigh extensor. There are also the biceps femoris. I'll write it like this: biceps femoris, and the semitendinosus and semimembranosus muscles. I've written it like this. Try to figure it out. If you don't know, you won't recognize it. Only we know what this means now. So what does the gluteus maximus muscle do? Why is it hard to live without it? Your back will hurt because it's involved in every bend. Especially if the hip extensor isn't working, your legs will hurt. The calf muscle will always be overstrained. Actually, not the calf, but the soleus muscle. A spasm of the soleus muscle will disrupt venous outflow from the legs, make blood supply and circulation more difficult, and overload the cardiovascular system. Because of impaired venous outflow from the legs, overall blood pressure will increase. Did you understand? So if you don't have gluteal muscles, the pressure in your body will increase. That's the connection. Just imagine the gluteal muscle, and you sit on it for 12 hours a day. How would you feel? You have to work. You have to enjoy the fact that blood is constantly being pumped. You were born to be resilient. You were born to constantly be under stress and to always grow, but you are always being compressed. They are sitting on you in the dark, inside pants, inside underwear. That's where you are. Plus, there is constant pressure on you. What kind of life is this you don't want to live? That's why you gradually atrophy and disappear completely. you vanish from the body. Next, 3. Muscle. The extensor group, let's put it this way, the back extensors, including the neck, which run along the spine. So, if you've heard of this research method called magnetic resonance imaging, have you heard of magnetic resonance imaging? And with magnetic resonance imaging, we can see not only the condition of the spine, hernias, your protrusions, but also the condition of the muscles. And we see a cross section like this, across like this one. We see a cross section of the muscles. Here are the muscles along the spine and how they usually appear. So let's say we have a vertebra, here it is, like this. Yes, this is our vertebra. And right here, there should be muscles like this along the spine, along the back extensors. But what do we see from them? There's just a thin film left of them, like this, like from a soap bubble, just like this, barely there, just some thin layers like this. They saw marbled beef there, marbled beef. That's when the meat has fat between the fibers. It's the same here, only there's almost no meat, just fat. Here it's just a little layer of meat between the fat. That's how it turns out. This isn't marbled beef, it's marbled fat. That's what's on the back here. E. And this marbled fat, this emerald colored fat, is spread across the back like this in modern people. What do you expect with a spine in this condition? How will you be able to straighten your back? How is it going to hold on fat? At best, on fat, it won't hold. There won't be a maximum. On fat, you just have to lie down and stay still. At best, you can rest your head like this to look at your phone. So, do we really need to support all of this? For what purpose? What is the spine? It's not just a simple story, not just a set of bones and 3 9-pounds of vertebrae. And these fat deposits as well. It's the container for the spinal cord. The spinal cord is what allows your brain, your consciousness is right here to function. But if there's no connection with the rest of the body, not to mention that the lungs won't breathe and the heart won't work, your arms and legs also won't be able to move. That means all the connections in your body are inside the spine. All these wires that go from the brain to the whole body regulate your life. Your spine does that. If the function is disrupted, the connection is disrupted. If even one nerve gets pinched here, nothing good will come of it. Do you think anything good will happen? If some nerve gets pinched, that means you'll lose connection with a certain part of your body. Either the connection will be lost, or you'll lose control over its function, or the regulation of its work will be lost. Well, that's the same as control. Continuing. Understood. Continuing. So the third one is the group of back extensor muscles with black funeral light. I don't know why. Rottnest prosta. So now, don't you want to see how I'm going to do the exercises as usual? Well, of course, enjoy your meal to everyone who's eating. And maybe someone will try to do them right now, but of course, we don't judge anyone. Because it's more interesting to watch first, of course. When you watch, imagine as if you're standing nearby too, making your favorite sports tights and t-shirts. So, the Iliopsoas. A few exercises for you, for any taste, whichever you like more. The first exercise with a resistance band. Stand up. You can lean forward if your health allows, or you can do it without leaning. You can hold onto a wall like this. And that means there will be a bit more load. If your lower back feels strained, it's better to lean forward like this. And lift and lower, You don't have to lower all the way down to keep the tension. So that's one option. We're doing it while leaning forward like this. Lift and lower, lift and lower. The second option is without leaning forward, but it's better if you hold on to something like this. So you stand up, stretch, hold for a few seconds. Well, not a few, just one. Stretch and lower, stretch and lower. If you're a well-trained athlete, you can even do it like this without holding on to anything. Just lift and lower, lift and lower. Adjust the load, play around with it. So, the stiffer the band, do you think the load is stronger or weaker? Share your thoughts in the comments. So a lighter exercise, a kind of relaxed activity that you can do during the day. For example, when you're tired, just lying down, instead of turning to the other side, you just take one leg like this, put your legs together, and then lift one leg up, lower it, lift it up, lower it, and like this about 10 times. Then do the same on the other side, also about 10 times until you feel a slight fatigue, but not enough to break a sweat. Legs a bit wider apart. And in this position as well, it's a bit more difficult, but if it's too hard, take care of yourself and don't overexert. In a wider stance, it will be a bit more labor intensive, this movement. And the third, do you really want to load it up? Okay, you put one leg over the other so that the weight of one leg presses on the other. From here, you see lift, lower, lift, lower. If you feel that your back is getting too tense, you can put your hands under your buttocks, for example, like this. And then you lift on one side and then on the other side too. So this top leg, you don't just put it like this, but bend it a bit more so that it also works for you, kind of in a negative way. A certain weight. It was created so that this would lift up. So this is our iliopsoas muscle. But what's special about it is that it also shortens. It doesn't just weaken, it also becomes shorter. Here's one option. Spread your legs wider, lean forward a little and stretch here. Stretch, relax, stretch, relax. Does this position work for anyone? Here's one option. The second option is together with the front surface thigh, which is also prone to weakness, was placed on the knee. And in this way we also stretched it. But here, both the thigh will be stretched and the iliopsoas muscle will also be stretched on one side and the other. We created the stretch, waited for a second or two, relaxed. Then the next option is near the wall. You stand like this, set your position, move your pelvis forward and do it. If you feel a stretch here, start with this. When it stops stretching, go a bit further. When it stops stretching like that, then do it with your knee. Lower your knee and stretch like this. Here are 3 levels of increasing difficulty for you. Next is the gluteus maximus right here. And combine it right away. Look, here you are. Time. You need to save it. You have many other interesting things to do throughout the day. That's why you've stretched your iliopsoas muscle. And right away, in this position, in this bend, you lift up here, then lift up to 45 degrees. And if you want to make it harder here you go. Take the band again, put it on like this, get into the same position. And from here, lift up at a 45-degree angle. But this is a bit tight. You see, you can't get the full range of motion. And then back here, attach it here as well, and then move it back here. Hop, hop, hop. This doesn't work. It needs to be longer, so it gives you this kind of range of motion. You can use ankle weights if it gets too easy for you. So what else do we have here? Gluteus maximus? Well, the hip extensors will also be working here. Of course, you can add something like this here for the hip extensors. For the hip extensors along with the gluteus muscle as well. Not bad. All these different glute bridges. Lifting up and down like this, that's how it's done. Then, in this position, you can add more load. Move your legs wider or narrower like this. Then this, like that. You can make it even more challenging, again, with the resistance band. See how multifunctional this band is. So you hook it like this, right here. Hook it, yeah, right here. Like this, like that. And here you have several options. Just stretched it out a bit. Like this is already good too. Both the gluteus maximus and the gluteus medius will be working. You can do it with pauses, with holds, and the reverse movement a bit slower. You can make it more dynamic for a warm-up, so the movement can be done in different ways. Then stretch, lift lower, constantly maintaining this tension. Next option. Stretch, lift, and in this lifted position, bring your knees together, apart, together, apart, together, apart. Here are a few ways you can make the glute bridge more challenging. Next, the gluteus medius lying on your side and the gluteus maximus as well. This kind of lift in this position, this kind of lift, the leg slightly in front, and you can add a little bit behind as well. This kind of lift, this works the gluteus medius. That will be enough as well. And what do we have left? Extensors. Yes? How much time? 29. Well, friends, film isn't eternal. We didn't have time to make one muscle. Unfortunately, we're limited by the quota. So, well, I'll just show you quickly. That's all. These rules, they're made to be broken. Yeah. Look, at least one. It's interesting to find out. Back extensors. Friends, lie down on your stomach. Go ahead. Put your hands right here on your powerful glutes, which after the first exercises are already filled with blood and barely fit into your leotard. They're even stretching it a bit to us. The seams are starting to strain. So now in this position, our task is to lift your head and hold this position. Just stay still, look down, and hold this static position. If your legs lift up a little, it's not a big deal. Just lie like this. After a while, you'll feel tension in your back muscles. And you need to endure it a little, well, at least a few seconds. But if it's really hard, start with 10. But try to stay in this position for 30 seconds. If you can easily do 30, try at least a minute. For a minute. If it's really hard, you can help yourself a little with your hands right here. If it's not hard, then put your hands here. So this is the second level of difficulty. The third is when your hands are here, and the fourth is when they don't touch at all.
For you, polo, it's the hardest. So you can also do it with 2 movements to make it easier to hold the position for a minute. You can add a bit of movement with your hands.
Well, this one is the hard one. Try it. Well then, friends, continuation. The glutes have reddened. The back extensors are filled with blood. Continuation, Kulakov's Iliopsoas muscle started pulsing. And that means it's time to say goodbye. Do sports, help your parents. Editor, until the next broadcast. Editor, proofreader.